As an innovator, I believe that technology should enable ability. Technology should allow us to do things that we couldn't do before the technology existed. And by enable ability, I mean anything from allowing an astronaut to live and work in space, to a surgeon who's using advanced imaging to do a minimally invasive surgical procedure, to a child with a disability who's using a wheelchair to navigate their environment. Today, I want to share some stories of innovation with you and invite you to partner with me to create game-changing technologies to find faster cures. I started as a maker innovator in the 90s. Maker innovators are people-centered. They like to solve problems. You've all met makers. They're the ones who create cool widgets out of duct tape and paper clips. Well, I saw that kids with cerebral palsy didn't have enough fine motor control to control a mouse. So I went to Radio Shack and I bought some light sensors and I put them in 4 Legos and placed them so that all a child had to do was get near those Legos to activate the mouse. Well, then handheld computers, the early smartphones, came onto the market, and I became what I call a futurist innovator. Now, futurists are the techno geeks. They're the ones who always have the latest gadgets and are pushing the limits of what technology can do. Futurists really show us the capabilities and envision the future. Well, we used a compact iPack to create a robot that could help a child do their physical therapy or even their homework. Well, even innovators need a customer. And it was the Department of Defense that came to us and posed a problem that they'd like our help with. When our men and women are deployed, they're exposed to conditions that cause combat fatigue and stress, PTSD, depression, and even blast injuries that can cause concussions. Well, the medics don't have diagnostic tools to help evaluate the soldiers. So the Department of Defense asked us to develop a suite of mobile medical apps to help the medics cognitively assess the soldiers to see if they might have depression, PTSD, or concussion. Oh, and by the way, they said that we needed to get these apps FDA cleared. Now, keep in mind, this was before the FDA had released guidance documents for mobile medical apps, and there was no predicate. Well, we did it, and this year we delivered Dana, the FDA-cleared mobile medical app platform, to the Medical Material Command of the US Army. But I'm just getting started. So I think this technology could do so much more. What we did for the military was actually easy. It was healthcare. What I want to do is health. That's the harder problem. That's the game changer. So how many of you have ever had the experience of forgetting your keys or forgetting someone's name that you know really well? Everyone should be raising their hand. Come on. So how do you know if this is normal or if you have early onset of Alzheimer's? Well, you don't, because we haven't done enough to quantify health to know if you need health care. In fact, we're ignoring the brain. Every time you go into the doctor's office, they take your blood pressure, your temperature, your height, your weight, but they do nothing to see if you have a healthy brain. So what's the cost of ignoring your brain? Non-communicable diseases like cancer, heart disease, diabetes, mental health issues account for 60% of worldwide deaths and will cost us $47 trillion by 2030. This is almost as much of the economies of the US, the European Union, and China combined. And all of these diseases affect your brain, either directly, like depression and dementia, or indirectly through medication or the effects of long-term chronic disease. There are 44 million people with dementia right now, and 1 in 3 over 65 will die with dementia. By 2030, 75 million people will have dementia if we do nothing. But of course, we're not going to do nothing. We're going to do something. And we've already started to identify what are some of the risk factors for dementia and chronic disease. And guess what one of the biggest risk factors is? Caregiving. In the US, there are 66 million caregivers. 14 million of those care for Alzheimer's patients or related dementias. This informal care in the US is valued at $522 billion per year. That's more than paid care. That's more than is spent on Medicaid, almost as much as spent on Medicare, and is more than the revenue of Walmart. So I've told you about the need for a future of healthy brains. Now let's talk about how technology can enable that. You've all heard about the Internet of Things? Well, when you think about the Internet of Things, we tend to think of machines connected to each other. And in fact, we've already seen this come to fruition with the ability to control our home environment through remote technology. But we can also envision a near future where maybe you have a robotic refrigerator that detects you're low on milk and sends a message to the store where the robot retrieves your milk and sends it back to you. Well, it may seem like there's not a robot, or there's not a human in the loop, but we're actually collecting a lot of data about the human. Where do you live? Where do you shop? And how much milk you drink. Because it's not really an Internet of Things. It's an Internet of Things and people. And we're generating a lot of data. In fact, I generate more data in a day than my doctor sees in a year. So what's the call to action? What if every time we walked into the doctor's office, they took your brain vital as well as your body mass index? What if the data we generated through the Internet of Things could be used to define healthy aging? What if we could provide tools to those who are at risk for dementia so that 1 in 3 of us don't die with dementia? Well, we all need to partner in order to create a future of healthy brains. And the good news is we've already started. Last year, we launched the Healthy Brain website with partners like the Bright Focus Foundation and the Jeffrey Bean Foundation, and we invited caregivers to come to the site to test their brain health. In less than 3 months, we had about 1,000 caregivers come to the site and take the Lumosity Brain Performance Test, as well as a questionnaire, and most of those caregivers signed up for future studies. And the results were sobering. Caregivers are cognitively impaired compared with matched controls. And the things that seem to affect their cognition are sleep, stress, perceived level of health, and social support. So the next phase of the Healthy Brain study is going to expand on this. And in addition to measuring cognitive health, we're also going to measure behavioral health. And then we're going to provide our virtual cohort of caregivers tools such as remote case management support, as well as an app that they can use to monitor their own brain health. So we hope to launch this study in early next year, and we invite you to partner with us to create a future of healthy brains. Thank you.